Hi friends, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and today we're going to talk all about how, on this whiteboard, there's nothing on it right now, it's white, don't worry, how to tie in your lighting, or tie in your lighting control with a venue's lighting system. Okay, so there's a variety of ways that this could happen depending on what you've got and depending on what they've got. And this is one of those things that in lighting, when you walk into a venue, you want to use their lighting system. This is one of those things that's really difficult to do sometimes, and other times really easy, but it's something that trips people up a lot. And I don't want you to be tripped up by it. I want you to be enabled to be able to make great lighting and tie into a venue rig and be able to use it if that is the case. So what we're going to do is start on the most basic level, and we're going to get all the way to the advanced, most advanced level here today. We're going to talk about all sorts of different consoles, different ways of doing it, and kind of take a high-level approach so that you have the tools to understand the process you would need to take, and you can figure out some of the rest on your end, or through other videos we have, or through Learn Stage Lighting Labs, where we love to help people every day. So if that sounds good, buckle up, let's dive in. Okay, so the most simple situation you might walk into is you come up to a venue, right, and there's a DMX plug hanging from the ceiling. It might be 3-pin, it might be 5-pin, so it's always good to carry around little adapters like this to convert the two. And they say, hey, here's our lights. You can plug in and get control of them. Or there's a little console sitting there and it says, hey, plug in, get control of them. What's that process look like? There's a few ways that that really could work, and actually let me grab something really quick to demonstrate. So on the surface level, the most important thing you're going to need to do is plug into it, patch their fixtures into your lighting control, whatever that might look like, and then you're going to be able to control them. But that can get a little more complicated than, unfortunately, you might want, right? So most of the time, people start addressing right at DMX 1. You start addressing your first light is 1, your next is 3, 1 is 5, etc., etc., etc. This is a great way to do things. But if you do frequent small venues and you yourself have the small lighting rig and you're tying the two together, you can't have two lights both on DMX 1. Okay? It's not going to work. The only way it works is if they're what's called separate universes, where you have two outputs from your lighting console that are on what are called separate universes. One's the house stuff, one's your stuff. So one thing we mentioned this in our courses, is if you are like a small gigging musician who does smaller things, venues might have a few lights, you might tie into them, you might not. You might actually go and on your setup, address your lights at the end of the universe. So you start at like 400. And then any small venues you go to are going to start at 1, and they're not going to have that much stuff. And it's going to be well within that first 400 channels, and then your stuff starts at 400 or 300 or whatever. Okay, so that's one way, is just plugging in DMX. How's it work? Well, you can unplug their little console. You can use a DMX splitter, which is usually the best way, coming out of your control surface into a splitter. One or more outputs of that splitter goes to your lighting rig, one goes to theirs. You're able to control everything. It's going to be on the same universe, and so they can't have the same channels. But other than that caveat, that is by far the easiest way to get control of a venue's stuff. Now, how do you patch that stuff in? How do you know what it is? And how do you get control of it? This is one of those things that's only gotten more complicated as time has gotten on with lighting. And all of the advances that we have in LEDs and the ability to control them are great, but they have made it more complicated. Okay, so let's talk through a couple ways, a couple things you might run into, and some possible solutions. Number 1, well, actually, the easiest is the venue has some sort of computerized control, or they have a list that tells you, hey, this is the brand, this is the channel mode, these are what the channels do. Okay, that's asking a lot out of a small venue. I realize most of the time they're not going to be that organized, they're not going to have that stuff together. If you can at least get the models of the fixtures and figure out where they're addressed, even if you have to ask them, hey, can I stand on a chair, or a short ladder, and see what the addresses are on these. I'm not going to change them, just going to check them out. And a lot of times they'll let you do that. You can write it down. You can know for next time you're there and have it all documented. Other times, you're probably going to run into something like this. Okay, these kind of things are so popular. All the brands make them. This is the Chauvet one. I've had it for years. I hate them, but I mean, they can be okay in the right situation. And when you need a venue where they just press one of these buttons or a couple and it just does something, you know, it can work and it's really inexpensive. So I'm not going to fault venues for that here. When you get something like this, you're going to have fixtures on the side. This one has 12. You're going to have faders here. Page A, page B, 8 faders. Okay, so what that means is, so I go grab my water in a minute. Because there's 8 faders in 2 banks, each fixture, each patch in this console is every 16. Okay, so that means their first light is probably at DMX address 1, the next is at 17, the next is at 33, and so on and so forth. Now, people don't always stick to that because, for example, say you've got one of these, and I wasn't going to use the overhead camera, but now I am. So say you've got one of these little guys, right? And you're going, okay, so I've got here, excuse the mess, you know, I could just have, you know, red, green, blue, just a simple RGB par. And then I could have another one. And then I could have a third one, and we bump over to the next bank. Where is a page select? You know, and that's the third channel, that one. Right then I've got 3 more channels, 3 more channels. You know, I could fit 4 or 5 fixtures all within one fixture on this board. But essentially that's how you figure it out, right? Like if you have one of these and you just start pulling up faders on it, you'll see really quickly, you go, okay, DMX address 1 is this, 2, 3, okay, that's the first fixture, okay, that's the second fixture, and so on and so forth. Don't forget the page button, and then when you finished fixture 1, the next address, number 1 on fixture 2, is going to typically be 17, right? And on fixture 3, it's going to be 33. And above that, you can do the math because it's not that hard and everybody has a calculator built into their phone, but I'm not going to do it right now. So that's the simplest. Sometimes you'll run into that. But let's get into the real meat here. Okay, so if you're moving into a larger space, something with bigger stuff, then hopefully you're going to have a second DMX universe on your system, and you can just plug their stuff into the second universe and then the third or whatever, however many universes they've got. If they can give you a patch, it gets easier when you get into places that have software-based controllers or even something like the WMX1 from ADJ, where you can get in there, you can find a patch screen, you can see what the names of the fixtures are, the mode they're in, where they're patched, and you can copy it in whatever software you have. Now that brings up an excellent point. How do you copy light? In some pieces of software, not all, in consoles, you have something called cloning. And I think we have a video on YouTube from a number of years ago that walks through cloning. And it's where you take a fixture that you've got in your show and you copy everything to a fixture in their show. On kind of the beginning end, the WMX consoles can kind of do this because you just patch more fixtures in an existing group and they do an awesome job kind of auto-cloning for you across most things. Lightkey can somewhat do this because you can copy properties from one fixture to another, but there's not like a blanket clone. Truly get cloning to be able to do it, you typically do have to get into a professional grade software. Onyx does it. Onyx does a really pretty good job at it, and that's one of the benefits there. If you can't clone or you just don't have time, whatever, then I would patch their stuff in, build yourself like one scene per song out of their lighting setup and save it into the first cue of every song so that their lights are still doing something with your music, but it's not taking you a ton of time to program. Okay, now let's get into some of the nuts and bolts you're going to run into if you are trying to do a bigger lighting rig. You're trying to connect to something like this, right? This is a Netron EP2, a DMX node. There's lots of DMX nodes we use. This is one of them. It's a good one, but there's other good ones. And this is what trips people up the most, okay? If you walk into a space and they have something like this, here's what you're going to do. You've got a couple options. Number one is if it's physically accessible and it works to do this, is you can go grab their node, right, and say you've got, you know, DMX Universe 1 coming out of it, okay? If you have an output on your console and you could just unplug their stuff from Universe 1, label it so you get it back in the right place, and plug it into yours, you can do that all day long. You just have to remember at the end of the night to put everything back exactly how you found it, or else you will be the person who broke their lighting system forever and ever, and they will hate you, and they will call you at 4 a.m. to try to fix it, and you don't want that. But you really don't have to do that, okay? So any DMX node, and I know we have a video on how to connect to your DMX node, but it's going to have an IP address, okay? And we talk about this in basics of networking, but there's three really, really common types of IP addresses that you're going to see in a typical venue with a node hooked up to some lighting console or software. Okay? It's going to be a 192.168.something.something. Okay? That's one option. It might be a 2.something.something.something. Okay? Or it could be often a 10.something.something.something. Okay, these are the three formats or the ranges of IP addresses that you commonly see for network DMX. And you might see something different for the IP address of the node, whether it is on a screen that you can find the IP address, whether it's written on it, whether someone gives you that information. You have to get your device in the same range, okay, your ArtNet or your SACN as theirs. So if your lighting software or console can output ArtNet or SACN, then you just have to put it in the same range as theirs. And if you have a node yourself, you'll have to plug it in on the same network, a node for your own stuff. Typically, you could have two network adapters, but typically you're gonna have to put it on the same network, put it in the same range of IP address. Okay, so you got to be in the same range. What does that mean? Most often, with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, range means the first three numbers match, the fourth number doesn't. Okay? And the fourth number is different for every device on that network. So the most simplest lighting networks and the ones you're going to run into the most are going to be very simple. They're going to be a lighting console, a PC, something like that, with a direct cable to a node. Like a lot of times in venues, that's what you're going to see. Okay? And that's great because you can take that direct line from their system, plug it into yours, or if they have a network switch, both systems could be going. Only one would typically be outputting at a time, though SACN does have priority, and that can be set up to make one in charge, the other secondary. Okay, the first three numbers the same, last number different. So it could be 192.168.0.5, could be their lighting console or their node. And then you could be 0.6 or 0.100. Okay, typically numbers you want to avoid .1 because that's usually the router in a system, and you don't want to go over about 240. Okay, because there's some stuff up there where there's some reserved stuff and whatnot. Okay, but anywhere in that range, good to go. What else? That's pretty much it. The other thing you might see is if you have a venue lighting console and a house lighting guy at that venue. They may take you, instead of going from, your device, your computer, your laptop, what have you, right? Say it's a laptop. Instead of going from your laptop straight into the node, right? We'll just do a single universe there. Smiling. Instead of going from your laptop to the node, just one straight network line, technically, arrows both ways, you may go, instead of doing that, your lighting setup into their lighting setup. We'll draw a bigger console or just a really wide, weird looking laptop. And then that might go to the node. And what they're doing then is they give you an IP address. They say, hey, this is your IP address. You're going to stream all your network stuff, all your universes into their lighting console. They're going to merge it, and then it's going to go out to the house lighting system. Okay? In that case, it's not all that much different, but they do have to have it set up correctly. You do need to make sure you're in the proper IP address range for it to work. And they have to have, everything set up right on their end to make sure you get full control of the rig when they tell you you do. But then, whether it's one node, multiple nodes, whatever, you're going through their console and you're seeing everything they have and you're able to make it work. So I hope this helps if you are new to this, if you're like, hey, this is the first time I've done anything like this, networking, DMX, how to hook it up, it just plain scares me. I hope we were able to just help you out a little bit here, help make it a little bit less confusing and a little bit less like a daunting black hole and something that you can achieve. If you're looking for more help, more information, Learn Stage Lighting Labs is the place to get it. But more importantly than that, if you need stuff, you need lights too, go get it at Learn Stage Lighting Gear. We're slowly rebranding to Above AVL because we have more microphones, speakers, cases, and other AV type stuff than ever before. But we still love lighting. So check it out. Go get your quote today. Just ask us. We love to quote out packages of lights for people and help you find the best fit of lighting for your needs and get a personalized price on it so that you can make amazing events. If that sounds good, we'll see you at Above AVL or LearnStageLightingGear.com. There's no better place to buy your stuff, so come, help us out. If you learn something from this, we would appreciate that, because we can't make stuff like this unless somebody buys some gear. If that sounds good, head on over. We would love to serve you and show you how we can take really great care of you. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.